Hello, my pretties, and welcome to my kitchen. I am so happy that your path has led you here. Today, we'll be making pan dulce. Now, if you think that you're just going to make this and an hour later be done, not today. Now, let's grab our aprons, and if your hair is down like mine, let's tie it back because we don't want an unexpected hair in someone's food and end up in someone's. There, that's better. Now let's get started. Today, we're making pan dulce with a hint of orange. It's like it's been kissed by the sun. Today, you'll need 1 tablespoon of yeast, 3/4 cups of warm milk, a half a cup of melted butter, 1 cup to 1 1/3 cups of sugar divided, 3 room temperature eggs, 1 teaspoon of salt. I'm using kosher salt. If you're using a finer salt, you're going to want to cut that in half. The zest of 1 orange and the juice of 1 orange. 560 grams or 4.5 cups of flour. You may need to add a little more to that, but that's where we're going to start from. First thing we need to do is get our yeast to bloom. So let's take our milk and measure out 3/4 of a cup. And take our thermometer and stick it in. We are not quite there yet, so let's pop this in the microwave. And just like that is the perfect temperature. We are doing this bread today with the intention of prosperity. So however you will bring those prosperous things to you, that is what you want to bless each ingredient with. Now, a little word of advice. If you are doing this to work for your own money, to gain something for yourself, you are also going to want to include endurance because you don't want to suddenly be working 60 hours a week and you are just tired. So make sure you include everything that you need when you're blessing each item. Now let's get started. I bless and charge this milk so it will work to bring prosperity to all those who eat this bread. Let them have the endurance to work as hard as needed to get the job done, to bring everything into the home and household. I bless and charge this milk with the guardians of the north, the south, the east, and the west. I also ask for assistance of my guardians, guides, and ancestors, and the blessing of the Lord and Lady. So mote it be. Now that the milk has been blessed, we also need to bless the yeast. So let's do that now. I bless and charge this yeast so it may work to bring financial gains into the household, so that it may bring prosperity and uplift and make life easier. I call upon the guardians of the north, the south, the east, and the west. I also ask for assistance of my guardians, guides, and ancestors, and the blessing of the Lord and Lady. So mote it be. All right, now let's add this yeast to our warm milk. And we are going to want to move it around a little bit. Now let's bless and charge the sugar. I bless and charge the sugar so it may work to bring sweetness and prosperity into the home, so it may sweeten our lives and uplift us and keep us happy and whole, so there is less worry in the world. I call upon the guardians of the north, the south, the east, and the west. I also ask for assistance of my guardians, guides, and ancestors, and the blessing of the Lord and Lady. So mote it be. Now you're going to want to take half of the sugar and pour into the warm milk with the yeast so that the yeast has something to eat. Those are hungry little buggers. Let's feed them. Feed the yeast. Gently stir it together. And you're going to want to stir in a clockwise motion, stirring the prosperity to you, not pushing it away. And be gentle because you don't want to kill the yeast. All right, let's set this aside and move on. Now, while our yeast is waking up, let's take some time and bless and charge our remaining ingredients. Let's start with the salt. I bless and charge this salt so it may work to bring prosperity into our home. May it work to bring all that we need, all that we want, so that we may live a happy and healthy life. I call upon my guardians of the north, the south, the east, and the west. I also ask for assistance of my guardians, guides, and ancestors, and the blessing of the Lord and Lady. So let it be. I bless and charge this fire, so we may work to melt any barriers that are keeping us from our financial goals. May it help us to prosper in this life, so we may live without worry and with ease. I call upon the guardians of the north, the south, the east, and the west. I also ask for assistance of my guardians, guides, and ancestors, and the blessing of the Lord. So now, before we bless the orange, you may see me in my blessings. Cross it. When you are making that cross, you are bringing your prayer into the physical world. So by crossing it like this, you bring that and make it a fixture and from the spiritual world into the physical world. It takes it from higher magic to lower magic. I bless and charge this orange so that it may bring happiness and a happy working heart to bring everything that we need to be prosperous into our families and our homes. May it work to uplift our souls as we work to bring and to meet our financial goals. I call upon the guardians of the north, the south, the east, and the west. I also ask for assistance of my guardians, guides, and ancestors, and the blessing of the Lord and Lady. So mote it be. I bless and charge these eggs so that they may work to help us be fruitful in our efforts, so our efforts are not for naught. May they help us gain the knowledge, the wisdom, and all that we need to know so that we may be prosperous in our goals. I call upon the guardians of the north, the south, the east, and the west. I also ask for assistance of my guardians, guides, and ancestors, and the blessing of the Lord and Lady. So mote it be. Now, before we bless our flour, we need to have it weighed out. It is best to use a kitchen scale. If you don't have one, you can get one for a reasonable price on Amazon. And this will help you from adding too much flour into your mixture. All right, let's zero that out. Grab our flour. And we need 560 grams or 4.5 cups. But if you're using a regular measuring cup, you're putting too much flour in it. So that could be one of the reasons why you may fail in your baking. It may not be you. If you say, I can't bake because my bread never turns out, it may just be because you have too much flour in there. So if you sift it out and use a scale to weigh it, that should help you out. You should never pack in your flour. We need just less than 100 to go. And there we go. All right, that's done. Let's put this away. Flour goes back in its home. Handy dandy scale goes away. And now let's get to blessing the flour. Now let's not forget to put some endurance in here. So when we bless this flour, that's what we're going to do. I bless and charge this flour with the endurance that we will need to meet our prosperity goals. May it keep us going and keep us going with a happy heart to bring all that we need into our family and to our home. May it help us gain the skills that are required to do what we need. I call upon the guardians of the north, the south, the east, and the west. I also ask for assistance of my guardians, guides, and ancestors, and the blessing of the Lord and Lady. So mote it be. Okay, so let's start adding all of our ingredients to our KitchenAid, aka our cauldron. So let's add the warm butter or melted butter. It's probably still warm. And let's add some of our flour, maybe like a quarter amount of flour. Let's add our remaining sugar. Now, let's crack our eggs into a bowl and then put them in one by one because we don't want any eggshells. You can clean those shells and save them for later for some of your potions and powders. Oh! Do not put your eggshells into your cauldron. We're not making a powder. Let's put them over there and put your egg into the mixture. All right, let's put on our dough hook. All right, and give this a quick mix. Okay, let's add the rest of our flour, our salt, and give that a quick mix. Or stir. You kind of want to get the salt incorporated in there so it doesn't fill the yeast. Okay. Let's take the hook off so we could work. And we are going to add our orange. Oh, Starbella. All right. We got our zester, and now let's zest our orange. The room smells so fragrant now that we've zested our orange. Tap the rest onto there. Give it a little scrape. Ooh, it smells so good. Add that to the sink. Now, let's juice our orange. Now that we have our orange juice juiced, let's add it to our mixture. And as you can tell, our yeast is nice and frothy and happy and well fed. So let's add that to our batter as well. Now that we have everything in our KitchenAid cauldron, let's reattach the dough hook. Secure it and turn it on. let that come off the hook. Oh yeah. All right. Take our dough hook off. And now we're going to prepare this bowl for the first rise. So just a little bit of olive oil into the bowl. And then let's spread it around because we don't want it all sticking to the bowl. All right. And let's take this off. And let's scrape it down from the sides so that we can easily put it in the bowl to rise. All right. Down in there. Just going to sink. All right, so this is an enriched dough. Let me back up a second. So while it was mixing, depending on how much juice was in your orange, you may have to add more flour. I had to add about 120 grams or 1 cup more to get the consistency needed. It was too wet, but just add a little more flour. Don't forget to bless the flour and keep mixing. Now you can do this all by hand by kneading it and working that way, but with our handy dandy KitchenAid cauldron, we were able to get it done all in there. So now we're going to cover the top with parchment paper and then put a bonnet on that. Now, if you don't have a bread proofing drawer like I do, just turn your oven on to 100 and then shut it off. And then just slide your dough in there and that will act as your bread proofer. Don't forget that it's in there. You don't want to preheat for another meal and all of a sudden you've baked your bread, but it's not good. Anyways, so it is going to rise or proof for about 3 hours or more. And while it's doing that, I'm going to go have lunch with 2 of my very dear friends, and we'll be back later. Hello, my pretties. I made it back from lunch, but as you can see, our dough has risen, but I am pressed for time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some plastic film over the bowl. I'm going to pop it in the fridge, and this will just help develop the flavor more. So I'm going to pop it in the fridge overnight, and in the morning, I'm going to let it come back to room temperature, rise a little more, and then we're going to roll it into the individual balls and let it have its final rise. You could either do as I do, or you can make it into the individual balls right now. Your choice. See you in the morning. Bye. Welcome back, my pretties. It's the next day, and today we are going to make our dough balls. Our dough has come to room temperature again, but before we do that, we are going to make the topping. Now let's get started. Now you can make the topping with many different flavors. Today though, we are going to be using almond extract, and you're going to need 1 tablespoon of that, 1 cup of flour, or 120 grams, 1 cup of powdered sugar, and a 1/2 cup of very soft butter. If it is not soft enough like this one, you're going to pop it into the microwave for just a few seconds. Okay, let's get started. let's grab our apron, and if your hair is not tied back already, tie it back because you know, spells and such. All right, let's get started. So first, we're going to bless all of our ingredients. We'll start by blessing the flour, and remember, this is for prosperity. I bless and charge this flour so that it may help bring prosperity into our home. May it work to grow our finances, help bring balance to our lives, success to our lives, and may we grow in a happy, stronger way with a great foundation. Call upon the guardians of the north, the south, the east, and the west. I also ask for assistance of my guardians, guides, and ancestors, and the blessing of the Lord and Lady. So mote it be. And the confectioner's sugar. I bless and charge this sugar so that it may work to sweeten our lives, to bring all that we need so we can have a happy, more enriched life, to bring balance into the family so no one struggles. I call upon the guardians of the north, the south, the east, and the west. I also ask for assistance of my guardians, guides, and ancestors, and the blessing of the Lord and Lady. So mote it be. And the almond extract. I bless and charge this almond extract so that we may have stability in our lives and we may bring growth to our lives with prosperity and finances. I call upon the guardians of the north, the south, the east, and the west. I also ask for assistance of my guardians, guides, and ancestors, and the blessing of the Lord and Lady. So mote it be. That was Bella. Apparently, she wanted to make her entrance. She can't decide today if she wants to be inside or outside. She goes outside for a second, and then meow, meow, meow. Comes back in, meow, meow, meow. So now she's down there. Yeah, meow, meow, meow. All right, let's bless and charge this butter. I bless and charge this butter so it may work to give us all that we need to be successful in life, so that our finances and prosperity will grow, our businesses will grow, and we will find a comfort and stability within that. I call upon the guardians of the north, the south, the east, and the west. I also ask for assistance of my guardians, guides, and ancestors, and the blessing of the Lord and Lady. So mote it be. Okay, I gotta go. In less than 5 minutes, she's going to want back in. All right, so let's start making the toppings. So let's sift our flour. Now, as you're doing this, you can also put your intentions into it as you're sifting it through the sifter. You know, it doesn't just have to be as you start with each ingredient. And in the confectioner's sugar, as you stir, you can add more intentions. You can also add intentions as you put it on top of the dough balls. As you roll it out and then put it on top, you can also carve runes in it if you would like to do that. All right, and we're done with that. So let's add the very soft butter in there. And the almond extract. All right. And now, with clean hands, we're going to go to work. Now this, as you're doing this and breaking up the butter in with the flour, you should be thinking about your prosperity and what you want to bring in. If this is not a prosperity spell, this is about love or hope or good health or whatever you like to use this for, that is what you're working with, and that's the thoughts you should be having. You hear her? She's asking to relive. I can't. Hasn't even been 5 minutes. All right, you are going to work this until it is dough-like. And I'm going to dump this now out on the mat so you could see better. This, if you have children in the house, this is the fun part. You can have them with clean hands work this dough. This is like a streusel topping. Get all worked in there. Okay, see? She's asking to be let back in. Keep working that. I know it seems like it's not going to go, but it will. I promise you. We're almost there. All right, almost. It's almost like Play-Doh. That's why I think it will be fun for the kids. When my grands get here this summer, they will be doing this part. And I'm sure they will love it. Especially if they know it's for their papa. All right, there we go. It is almost all in there. All right. All right, my pretties, now this is where you have choices. So you can either leave your topping plain just like it is, or you can add some coloring to it. I'm going to add 2 colorings. I'm going to add green for prosperity and orange for endurance and happiness. You know, if you are doing this to bring money in from your job, from your either your employment or your self-employed business, you want to have that endurance to see it through, and you want to do it with a happy heart. You don't want to be going into work, oh, why am I here? No, you want to do it with a happy heart. Nobody wants to be miserable. So that's why we want a happy heart and the endurance to see it through. So let's just add some food coloring. All right, we are going to start with the orange. Just a little bit. That was a little more than what I was expecting. And Starbella still wants in. She's going to wait. You'll be okay, Starbella. It's a beautiful day outside. She's probably the most untaken care of cat in the world. Oh my goodness. All right, just work that color in. And I should have worn gloves because now I got it all over my hands. You know, Starbella sometimes reminds me of like a 4-year-old and I have 4 children, so I know about 4-year-olds. They want to go outside. Then they go outside and they get a little bored, so now they want to go inside. Then they get a little bored, so they want to go back outside. Outside, inside, outside, inside. And no, Starbella is not a kitten. She is an older cat. Already getting some gray hair. And she meets me first thing when I wake up. I open the door to my bedroom. There she is, waiting to be fed. When I come home from work in the afternoon, there she is, waiting to be fed. But we've had to stop feeding her as soon as we get home because I think she's part puppy. If we feed her first before we have dinner, she expects us to give her some of our food, even though she may still have a bowl full. So we have learned with her that when we eat, she eats dinner, and then there's not, it's not so much trouble. There, we have almost got that orange worked all the way in. Now onto the green. Now, now onto the green. All right, let's start folding and working that in. And as you're doing this, think of what it means to be prosperous and successful. Think or imagine what that would look like for you and how you would achieve that. Think about what that would mean for your families, how that would bring stability into their lives, maybe even bring some joy into their lives. You know, I used to not do prosperity spells because I was a little afraid of them. And the reason why I was afraid of them, something happened to me as a child. I was about 6 years old, and middle of the night, my mother did not leave any lights on ever. You know, we were pretty poor, so no lights were ever left on in the middle of the night. So it was very dark, but I woke up this one night. It might have been a full moon because we didn't have any air, so the windows were always open, and it was Florida. So if you know what it's like to live in Florida without air conditioning, you understand. So the windows were open, and it was the middle of the night, and I woke up and I seen this hand like this at the end of my bed. Or not at the end of my bed, at the side of my bed, kind of like right next to me. If this was my bed, I was laying here, the hand was here, and it was a grown-up hand. And inside this hand was a pile of money. And I knew if I took that hand, I would be successful. I would have everything I've ever desired. Not just needed, but desired, you know, all those things. If you have grown up on the other side of the tracks and knew what it's like to go to bed hungry and just to go without, to not have the nice clothes, the nice shoes, to be made fun of, and you know, all kinds of things like that. You know what it's like to desire what you don't have. And as a 6-year-old child, I knew that. But I knew if I took that hand, it would all be better. It would all be better. I would have what I wanted, not just what I needed, but what I wanted to. And my life would be easy. I would never go to bed again hungry. But I knew that there was a price. So there was something instinctual in me that knew that there was a price to be had and to be paid if I took that hand. What that price was, I have no idea. So I was always afraid of that hand. So never did I do, before a certain point in my life, a prosperity spell. And even in good times, there was still struggle as an adult. So that shouldn't have been. So my love, Papa, he told me, you can't always live in fear. And maybe that hand was a generational curse to keep the family poor. So once I started doing prosperity spells, my life changed. And it changed for the better. It became more balanced, more hopeful. So, you know, don't be afraid to try new things. All right, welcome back. I've lined my pan with parchment paper. I have cleaned up from making the toppings. I have let Starbella back in. I'm gonna add a little flour to my mat. Now, this recipe will yield approximately 12. Oh, look at that nice rice. It's a nice rice. Let's get it out of there and down onto the mat. All right. All right. And let's start kneading it again. And as you're kneading it, put that intention into it of prosperity, endurance, and the joy of bringing that into your life. All right. Look at that beautiful dough. Okay, so since this makes 12, we're gonna try to divide this equally. I'm gonna divide it into 3. You can use a scale to weigh it out, but I'm just gonna eyeball it. So, I guess I could have divided it into 4. Maths, sometimes it's hard. All right, so you're gonna wanna roll it into a nice ball. And just lay it on the parchment into a nice ball and onto the parchment. And remember, positive, prosperous thoughts, happy thoughts. And I'll be back with the rest rolled into balls. All right, with slightly dampened hands, I made these into little balls. And now I'm just going to take my handy dandy roller pin and kind of roll them out. You can also just squish them down with your hand. That works nicely as well. Probably works better just to squish it down with your hand. So I'm going to set that aside. All right. So I'm going to take my offset spatula, kind of go under it, and place it over the dough. Let's do an orange one. Press it down, go under it, and place it over the dough. All right, so you can also do two colors. I'm going to take half of each color and we're going to press them down together. You can get very creative with this. All right, and let's scrape them up and place them over the dough. Just a little more. Press down. And scrape up. Place it over the dough. Very easy. Now, as I finish the rest of these, we'll be back in a second. All right, now for the fun part. Now this is where you can draw in runes. You can just draw in shapes or lines or designs. That fell off. It's okay, we'll put it back up there. You can write somebody's name or their initials. Or you could do the traditional concha design. All right, now we're gonna cover these and leave these to proof for another hour. Hello, my pretties. These are ready to go in the oven. So preheat the oven to 350 degrees, and then once it's ready, pop them in for 18 minutes. See you again soon. Hello, and welcome back, my pretties. And just like that, our pan dulce is done. Ooh, they smell so good. Let's try one. Ooh, they're still warm and fluffy in the middle. Oh, you see the steam coming off of it. Just a hint of sunshine and perfect with a cup of coffee. Until next time our paths cross, sending you my love. Bye-bye.